Welcome to Jason's Matterhorn story. A super awesome accomplishment. We're all really proud of Jason. He crushed it. And the purpose of this meeting is to hear more about his story and insights leading up to and on the trip and major takeaways. And hopefully, folks can draw on some inspiration from this experience and channel it into their own lives. Just to introduce myself for those of you that don't know, I think most people probably know who I am by now. I'm Mikey Bell, owner of Outdoor Adventure Training, and yeah, I've been working with Jason for over a year now, and it's been an awesome experience from start till hopefully it never ends, and just keep watching him grow and crush. So yeah, I'll pass it off to Jason, and he's going to lead us through a little presentation he put together. And yeah, if anyone has any questions throughout the presentation, we'll definitely have a Q&A at the end. But if there's something really pressing, like feel free to throw it out there and we'll tackle it as it comes.
Yeah. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, shoot, did it? Oh, yeah. Okay. You guys can see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so definitely wanted to thank Mikey for giving me the chance to do this and go over this. I'm really excited to do it. I'm hoping at the end, we get to talk about it, but hoping other people too share their experiences, because I'd love to learn about it myself. Okay, let me go into presentation mode, and then yeah. So from an outline point of view, figured we'd start with how the idea of doing the Matterhorn came about. So the inspiration, then go into some of the planning of it. Not too many details, but hopefully enough to give you an idea of what it took for me to do it. But definitely jump in and ask questions if you want some more insight. And then yeah, Mikey's going to go over a little bit of the training that I did for and all the specific workouts he gave me to get ready. And I did have to do a bunch of prep climbs to get ready for it, because my experience when I decided to do this in mountaineering was zero, other than doing some workout and some hikes in Yosemite. So really had to do some prep for it, and then go into the exact details of the trip. The practice climbs actually over in Switzerland, and because it was a 6-day guided thing that I did, and then the actual Matterhorn. Yeah, so that's what we'll go through. Okay, so from an inspiration point of view, let me do a laser pointer here. Okay, so from an inspiration point of view, it really started for me in July, actually almost a year ago from the time that I did it, almost to the day. I was super lucky to get a trip to Switzerland, and I had an extra day, so I actually didn't even know where the Matterhorn was, but did a little research and found out about this town called Zermatt, that is obviously right at the base of the Matterhorn. And so I was like, okay, for my extra day, I'm gonna just go there and see what's up. And yeah, it was just stunned, because you can kind of tell, but this is a very small little town in this is right off of Strava, by the way. And Mikey is obviously turned me on to Strava, so that's why I wanted to also include that here. But you can see Zermatt is this really small town. There's actually no cars. You can't drive to it. There are some cars that people small cars that people move things around in. But Zermatt is really beautiful town, and you just have to take a train to it. And actually, halfway through the town, you come around this corner here, and you can just see up the valley to the Matterhorn. You get this view. It's totally beautiful. So very inspired, and I got on Strava and I was like, okay, what hikes can I do? And this is the one hike I did that day, which was pretty long and pretty high elevation gain, but just gorgeous. I mean, you're you can kind of see here, you're on the steep cliff or steep side of the mountainside here and go up right up to the base of the Matterhorn and right up to here. And actually, this point here is like here on this picture, and it's actually a climber's hut. It's called the Hornley Hut. And so my goal was to hike to there and then hike back down. There are like actually trams you can do, but I decided to like hike it all and was like super into it. And I got really fortunate because when I got there, it was about like 1 or 1:30, and the climbers were all coming down. So these were like some climbers over here that were like totally recapping their day and like taking all their like crampons and everything off, and it was like super inspiring. I was just like sitting there and watching them come down, and then actually like right over here to my left, or I guess my right in the picture, they have like a spotter with like a little like strong binoculars that you can watch people coming down. And so like it was just like, okay, I gotta think about doing this. So yeah, this was definitely the moment I'd say I got inspired. It was very like ethereal at that moment. So like I was like, okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that. But um I think when I came back a year later and was actually like going to do it, it was like a little bit different feeling. So I'll kind of talk about that then. But yeah, if I'll just mention like Zermatt and Switzerland are just beautiful. I mean, if you just look on Strava and go to this and look at like the heat maps, I mean, there are just hikes all over this place. And there's like um Europe does it really well because like all of these also have like trams up to a lot of it and huts. So you could do like trams up, hut, stay, hike down. Actually, that's what I did the first day. I went up actually this valley to the left and took a tram or gondola up and then just hiked down a beautiful like trail down like a glaciated valley. So, I mean, even if you're like not into like getting all the way up the mountain or doing like peaks and exposure like this, I mean, it's really a gorgeous area. So definitely pitch for that.
I have a
Um,
I have
yeah,
a question, Jason. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
I was just thinking, I'd imagine sitting in front of that table with all the climbers that had just returned, like a feeling of awe of like, I want to be them, in some way.
yeah.
But also I'd imagine maybe did you feel any like level of like, I don't know if I could do it or maybe someday, or were you like, within next year, within 5 year, like there a click of like, I'm doing that, or was there like maybe someday
Yeah.
kind of thing?
Okay, so the funny thing is, that's what I was thinking about earlier. Like, um, they were like so excited. Like I just like bought into their excitement. And like I was like, oh, I'm doing it. Like I can do it. They did it. Let's go. So that day I was excited. When I
That's
came back
awesome.
a year later and talked to my guide and went on a few climbs, like actual climbs rather than like these hikes, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. So I think I was like in delusional space until I actually like um got there, and then reality hit and I was like, okay, I gotta like really prepare. So I'm really glad Mikey like prepared me really, because I was prepared, but like mentally I wasn't really like recognizing what it would take until I like got there. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
For sure. My other
Yeah.
question was, and I see your Strava map, it seems like it goes right to the base, like you could
Yeah.
touch it almost.
Yeah.
Was there different feeling that you had from when you first saw it, you're first at the base of the Matterhorn, to a year later when you were about to climb it?
Yeah, I mean, like that was part of it, hiking to this hut too. I was like shocked you could get that close. Like like literally, and I know it's probably there'll be better pictures coming up, but like literally you're in the hut there and like a 2-minute walk and you're at the base of this first like cliff here climbing up. And it's just like towering over the top of you, right? I mean, it's like
Wow.
so it's like Yeah, I was surprised you could get there that quickly. But like again, while I was there in 23, I was like just excited and I thought I could do it. When I got there in 24, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like work hard tomorrow. You know, when I got there that night, the night before, I was like, okay, I gotta like get good sleep and like make it happen. Yeah. Obviously, you know, fantasy versus reality. Yeah. Yeah. It was good though. I definitely, if I mean, if nothing else, if you guys ever get a chance to go there, you could take a gondola up, and then it's like 2,000 vertical feet and like 2 miles to get to here. And I mean, that's just, it's awesome, and you can have a really good dinner there too. Um, okay, yeah. Let me go on. So yeah, so at that point, I'd been working with Mikey for like a month and a half, and I think I was pretty like just wanted to work out. I would talked about trail running and like I think our workouts like were a little bit more like around that. But I was kind of unfocused. But I think when I came back from that and like over the next month or two, I was really like, okay, I want to get into more alpine stuff. I had a lot of experience rock climbing, so I'm really comfortable with ropes and like trad gear and bolts and sport climbing and multi-pitch. Hadn't done it in like a lot, like heavy in a long time, but like I was comfortable with that. But I wanted to like take that and bring that into like high altitude alpine and you know maybe even like mountain summiting stuff. So that's what I talked to Mikey about at the point. In September, I researched like what it would take, and there's a lot of guides you can find online. Mikey recommended going with like a local guide, which I did. Um, I decided on a 6-day one-on-one guided trip. Every one of the guides said you got to have 4,000 meter experience, you got to have ice experience, you got to have snow experience, you got to be have crampons, ice axe, self-arrest, blah blah blah. I had none of that at the time. So that was part of like all the prep I had to do for it. But the guiding trip I actually did started in Chamonix, France, which is maybe like 50 miles from Zermatt and the Matterhorn, and then we traveled to the Matterhorn. The climbing season starts actually around July 1st, depending on the snow. I chose to go a little later. And actually, I'm really happy I did because they had a pretty heavy snow season and it didn't really get, I mean, it's all up to the guide, obviously, but you know, it looked very dicey until about, and there was beautiful weather from the 13th to the 18th. So like the 13th, 14th, and 15th, it like really cleared up the route. So a lot of the snow was gone. And then he felt better about bringing me on it. So yeah, I'm actually if I chose an earlier date, I don't think we would have gone. And I think if we chose much later, then it gets a lot of the snow tends to be gone, except the higher parts. So it's a different type of climb. So it's really a good time. Good timing. I think from a cost point of view, yeah, I mean, for the tips, I had to pay for huts, gondolas, and then for the guide, it was about $5,500. You can get more expensive ones, you can get cheaper ones. The more expensive ones tend to like pay for these things, the huts and the gondolas. The cheaper ones tend to like have less days and more targeted. I like the 6-day because it got me acclimatized and got me like more experience. So anyway, this worked well for me. But definitely needed prep climbs, definitely needed training for sure. So that's when I think around this time is when maybe a little bit earlier I told Mikey that you know I want to do this and I want to set that goal. So yeah, then I think it led into okay, how do I start training for it?
Yeah, I'll dive in here and speak to Jason's approach to training. So yeah, I mean, we started off for sure, like Jason mentioned, kind of more trail running focus and just wanting to like build stronger ankles. And it was kind of more of like, but there wasn't a necessarily a direct objective. And then that quickly kind of morphed once the Matterhorn was on the radar. And then it was like, oh, we're going to have all these different training objectives along the way. And I think we really ramped up the dial on training right around the start of the new year in like January, February, getting ready for Mount Shasta, which I've been guiding on Shasta for 7 years and have a pretty good grasp on what's physically required to undertake that objective. And Jason spent, and I think he's going to talk more to the technical skills he gained ahead of that experience even. But yeah, we focused very heavily on building strength and primarily through the lower body, which is so important for climbing, even with rock climbing. Of course, grip strength and arm strength is so important, but it all starts with a stable foundation with the legs and the core. And we spent a lot of time on all of those things. A lot of training hikes, especially leading up to Shasta. Just getting to base camp on Shasta, we were on the west face and Hidden Valley, and it's a mission to get in there. It's like a 5 or 6 hour hike with a heavy backpack for 4 days, all your climbing equipment. And yeah, wanted to make sure that he was strong for that and then still had juice in the tank for 11 to 12 hour summit day. So there's a lot that goes into that, and building the strength training in the gym and at home, using the TRX and the Bozu ball, and really invested in getting the right equipment and having the right approach and all the right tools to be successful. And of course, like, you can still achieve success without these tools, but they certainly make a huge difference. And adding unstable environments and just opening up a variety of exercises that we can choose from and implement into his program. And cardiovascular endurance, there's no way around it. Logging a lot of hours in that zone 2 and even time in zone 3. You can see on that screenshot there, like the rucker run. Jason kind of had the option of, depending on what he was feeling and what his body needed, of either loading up a pack and going for a ruck or going for an easy run to get some more cardio work in. And yeah, Shasta, Jason was very well prepared, and pretty confidently say he was the most prepared one in the group. And yeah, he was like, I remember on the summit plateau, he's like, I mean, I'm a little winded, but like, I feel good. I'm like, well, yeah, you should be winded. We're at 14,000 feet. But physically the whole way, he kept saying it like he's surprised. He's like, yeah, I mean, like, I feel pretty good. I'm like, yeah, because you worked hard up until that point to be there and feel strong. And it's a big climb. Our summit day was 5,000 vertical feet and technical terrain, and crushed it and felt good the next day, which is a big one. And yeah, I think you even reported like no soreness at all the next day, which is really cool. So coming off of that experience, we kind of had a quick turnaround to train for the Matterhorn, which I think Shasta ultimately gave him a really strong foundation to draw on. And in those final 6 weeks, it was just fine tuning. And he had found this like Matterhorn fitness test, basically, that was like, if you can do X amount of vertical feet over X amount of miles, you're ready to go. And in my mind, I was like, if he did Shasta, and of course it's a totally different beast, but physically, if you have the endurance to climb Shasta in the style that he did, I felt very confident that he was going to do well on the Matterhorn. So it was really just tweaking some things and focusing a little bit more on core training. We kept the upper body day in there because he's rock climbing, and we did mix up the exercise selection, which we'll talk about more on the next slide as well. We kind of ditched the heavy rucking and really moved more towards like fast and light cardio efforts of going uphill for a sustained amount of elevation gain. Yeah, a lot of training hikes on Mount Diablo to kind of replicate that. You can go to the next slide there, Jason. And then as far as training techniques and kind of like the individual exercises that we utilize, and this is primarily focused on leading up to the Matterhorn after Shasta, was we kind of, after a big objective, I really like to dial it back to the foundational principles of stabilization and redeveloping your proprioception, which is your body's ability or your brain's ability to recognize your body in space, which is obviously very critical for mountaineering and rock climbing, where there's a lot going on around your body all the time. And we introduced some new exercises that he hadn't done yet, using resistance bands that are pulling his knee into a valgus position or an inward movement and requiring him to recruit different muscle groups to stay more externally rotated and maintain good alignment. And then, like I mentioned, using the TRX and the Bozu ball, which are all excellent tools. The core training, we kind of integrated a little bit of core training every day to make sure that it wasn't too much where it felt like it was not manageable, but enough where we could stimulate the adaptation we were looking for. Yeah, a lot of lower body focus. And again, like, even though everyone thinks rock climbing and like you got to have super strong arms, but any great climber will tell you it's all in your legs and your feet. And so that's really a huge component of it. And yeah, upper body training, cardiovascular training, and ultimately, I think, and there was one tricky thing with Jason's schedule was the lengthy travel ahead of the Matterhorn. Spent some time in New York and then was over in Europe before going to the actual climb. So there was a period of time, and it's a sensitive time because you're leading right up to the objective. You're traveling a lot, and I think that needs to be managed with care. And Jason did a great job of that. He had body weight workouts on his calendar, and I know he was hitting the stair stepper at gyms that he told me later. And yeah, I think all of those little things to maintain your fitness pretty much all the way up until the day of your climb or the days before goes a long way to ensure that you're not losing your fitness before you're about to do the thing you're training for.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I did. That's actually a good note. We were lucky enough to be in Europe about a week before we actually started climbing. So I think if I went with jet lag or like the day before, I think it would have been a lot tougher.
No.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, sorry. Is there a question? Or?
No, I think we're good.
Oh, background noise. Okay. Yeah, I think so if you have the chance to like be a little unjet lagged, I think that would really help, because basically it's for me in California, it's like 9 hours. So like middle of the afternoon is just like, or like noon is like, late at night here, and it's hard. Anyway, that was really helpful too. Yeah. One thing I did want to point out about the training too is like all this strength was awesome, but I did have like glute and back and hamstring kind of injury ish. I was just like really sore in December. I did some business travel and had some other things go on that like, yeah, just really tightened up basically. I don't know if this is the right words, Mikey, but posterior chain.
Yeah, that's the right words.
Okay. Anyway,
I could speak to that briefly too, just kind of things we implemented. And I think, and it's funny, Kat is on this call and I had a meeting with her this morning and had a very similar conversation actually, but we're so used to like segmenting the body into like, oh, like I have this pain in my hamstring and hyper focusing on that issue. And it's becoming more and more apparent that of course the body is very complex, and it's not just the hamstring. And Jason you were traveling a lot, you had some personal things going on, and all of these things build stress in the body, and stress and that tension, and ultimately our nervous system is what's controlling our muscles and our fascia. And if that gets aggravated, like our muscles are going to be tight and aggravated too. And so of course, like the foam rolling and stretching was really important. And Jason had some custom mobility routines to target the issues that were going on. But I also recommended acupuncture and massage and some other things that can still be focused on that area, but are a little bit more holistic. And like I personally have been going to acupuncture for 2 years now, and it's completely changed how I look at mobility and how that integrates into performance. And Jason could speak to this more, but I know he found a lot of success down that avenue as well.
Yeah, I was really worried actually in December. I mean, I had booked all these trips already, and my first prep climb was in middle of January. Then I had another one in middle of March. And like literally, I had to like stand always because like sitting would just be like too painful. And definitely reached out to Mikey and was like, okay, what can I do? And yeah, he recommended the acupuncture and then gave me this custom foam rolling for that area. And I was pretty diligent about the foam rolling and fortunate enough could go to the acupuncture a fair amount with my insurance. And it, I think as much as this, I think that also made this trip possible because I definitely wasn't in shape in December and even early January to do that. And that really helped out. So big fan of obviously the stretching and foam rolling. I think we all know, but acupuncture really made a huge difference. Yeah, so wanted to plug that as well.
Maybe one last thing I'd add about
Yeah.
training before we move on is Jason was very committed and super diligent. We met monthly or sometimes more if necessary, and from nutrition to actually showing up every single day, even when the comment later on was like, I just didn't have the energy for it today, but showing up anyway. It's all cumulative, and it's not just the 6 weeks before, it's the year of training, and of course like the baseline of exercise he had even before we started working together, but just since we've been working together, the commitment and the consistency is really what drives results, and I think contributed greatly to his success on the Matterhorn.
Yeah. Thank you for that. But I will plug you as well because you've always listened to me about like changing up the workouts. And like, I think we've been through like the like ladder exercises and BOSU exercises and stability ball and bands. And like, I appreciate all the different like ways of keeping me engaged. So yeah. So that really helped. Okay, maybe I'll move on. Or I guess. Are you there, Mikey?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think let's keep rolling. We got another
Okay.
30 minutes or so.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so yeah, these are the prep climbs I did. Basically left to right. I signed up for these because again, when I signed up for the Matterhorn, they said you need 4,000 meter experience, you need like crampon experience, you need like rope work on snow, all this stuff, of which I had none of. Like hadn't even like bought any stuff. So first one was an intro to winter mountaineering I did. We were actually going up to these peaks here. We never actually made it to the summit, which is fine. I mean, it was just, you can see it was very windy and there was a lot of wind-blown slabs for avalanche potential. So that was okay with me because actually we spent on this slope here, we spent almost an entire day of like self-arrest and walking up and down, with different steps for crampons and different ways of getting up, like different techniques. So I loved it. So yeah, I had my first crampon use, first use of winter gear, first self-arrest. Really, I definitely think it was successful for sure. Funny thing is I think the peak we were going to go to was this one here, and it's actually called Matterhorn Peak in the Eastern Sierras. But yeah, didn't make it. This is the second one I did when March was to Whitney. And that also, we didn't make it to the summit. Same thing. It snowed actually like 15 inches on us while we were there. So like, I don't think there was really any chance of us making it to the top. But definitely did more crampon practice. We did find a very steep area to practice snow climbing in that was kind of protected from any avalanche. And we did a lot of rope work. So was pretty happy with this because I got all the kind of skills I needed and I like wanted to learn that and be comfortable with it, obviously, before we went over to like Switzerland. But beautiful days there. And then yeah, then there was the trip. The last one I wanted to do was with Mikey to Shasta. So that one we did make the summit with. That's Mikey and me, and then another one of Mikey's clients, Rob, made it to the summit. And yeah, this one I think put the two other prep climbs I did totally together. So obviously we did more crampon and ice axe work like on a skills day, but then also did rope climbing, and we did like a lot, like he said, a long climb with an alpine start. So woke up early and got used to that. And oops. And yeah, I think really put everything I had learned together in one spot. And like he said, I felt pretty good at this one. I think my glutes and lower back were hurting on these two a little bit. I mean, I definitely could have worked through it, I like with the stretches and everything. But by this time in May, I was feeling really good and felt pretty strong. So this was great. This was a great trip for sure. And doing it with Mikey was awesome. Okay, so that was my prep work, mainly. So now to go to the actual trip details. So the Matterhorn's on this like, and these Alps are like right on the border of like France, Italy, and Switzerland. So blowing up, you can kind of see, hopefully you can see it a little bit, but let me zoom in a little. Yeah. So this is Chamonix over here, and this is in France. Maybe this is the border here. Yeah, maybe this is the border. Oh yeah, this is probably the border between France and Italy and Switzerland. But anyway, Chamonix. So this is where we did 3 of the first day. So day 1, go over some of the climbs. This is the actual 6-day guided trip that we did. I'll go over the first climb here, then day 2 and 3. Day 2 was a really hard day. I'll just show that in a sec. 3 was a little bit easier. 4, we finally decided that we would do the actual Matterhorn between day 3 and day 4 because the snow cleared up enough. So we did a little bit of an easy day there too, and then drove to the Matterhorn, hiked up to the Hornley Hut, and then did the Matterhorn on the 6th day. But it's funny, it's always right on the border here between all of them. So there's like a lot of people speak French, a lot of people speak Italian, a lot of people speak German. It's like every town you go to is almost like a different language, which is awesome. And then, they have like the intense restaurants for each of them. So it was pretty good. Definitely recommend this whole area. I will say, you can kind of see this white area here is just a beautiful alpine classic peaks. All of these Aiguille here, all of these are needles. I think Aiguille is like needle in French. So I'm probably pronouncing it horribly wrong. But anyway, all of these are like needle peaks, and you'll see in the pictures. So you get up here from Chamonix, and it's just gorgeous. And then, yeah, Zermatt is here. And then you can see it's surrounded all by this high altitude alpine Alps as well. Really beautiful. Yeah, so just to so day 1, we did what's called the index, and actually two routes, another one called Moneyline. They were pretty easy 250-meter rock climbs. You'll see in the pictures, it was very blocky and very almost like stair-ish. Although it had really great rappels, which I'll show. Day 2 was the hardest one. It's the Dent de Jean, which I think is Tooth of the Giant. Really hard approach, pretty long, hard climb. The peak is at 4,000 meters, so you're really getting acclimatized. First time I ever used mountaineering boots to rock climb. First use of fixed ropes, and really steep snow and crampons. So this was like a tough day. That night we slept in the Trina hut, which is near this rock to get more acclimatization. Then we, near this peak, we did a traverse, which was pretty cool. Very exposed, one of those classic, you're on the edge of a knife kind of thing and falls off to both sides. Pretty high elevation. This is the day we decided that I think he had evaluated me enough, and I think the route had cleared up enough that he thought we should go for the Matterhorn. So we decided to do an easier day on day 4. Unfortunately, it was really like cloudy and we got snowed on, but it's supposed to be this like beautifully exposed ridge. So I had no idea like what was to the left or the right. These were so cloudy, but it was very cool. And it's the first time I ever used crampons while rock climbing. So that was really good. And then traveled to Zermatt and then the Matterhorn. Yeah, really, it's a great, if you ever get the chance to do like a trip like this, it's just perfect. It was really a great trip. Okay, so let me go over the prep climbs. I'll kind of zoom in here. So the first one was what was called the index. So definitely a lot, you can see a lot of climbing, but we were definitely roped up. This isn't us. This was a team that was coming up after us. But you can also see it was I'd say it was maybe a 5-4 move, very low 5th class. A lot of it was this kind of low angle, very blocky holds that you could just kind of come across. And there's so many different ways you could go on here to make it like a little easier or harder. But really fun climb. It was like 600 feet. You started down below the other side of this and then just climbed up this ridge. It was really beautiful. This was actually at the top of it. And then on the other side, you came down to here, which I think you can see is basically a rappel station. You can see a guy rappelling off. So, I mean, this was like really beautiful. And like, once the clouds disappear or went away, you could like see across the valley and see all the like alpine peaks. It was just gorgeous. But one of the nice things is I will say that also this area is like been climbed for like, I don't know how long, but a long time. So like all the bolts, all the anchors are like really solid, really protected. These routes are done all the time. I think they actually have probably people who maintain them. So it was really good. It was a great start. Just getting used to each other and getting used to moving fast together. Actually, I will say, I think Mikey and Emily were asking me like what challenges or what did I focus on? I think one thing that really helped was like I was pretty comfortable rock climbing and with ropes and like transitions, like because when you get down to this area to do a rappel, being comfortable there and being comfortable setting up to do the rappel and having your guide come down and set things up. I think I was pretty comfortable with all that. I think that really helped. Because we could like communicate pretty well and move pretty quickly. So if you do think about doing a trip like this, I think that experience for me helped me out a lot and something I didn't really have to think about. But there is a lot of it for sure. You can see, and you can even see here, I mean, I think they're probably simul climbing here, but I know there's parts where you can like belay here and belay them up and then, come over to here and belay over to here. A lot of the pitches are very short, well protected, but so being comfortable in those transitions is good. This is the second prep climb, or not prep climb, but the practice climb we did. This is called the Dent de Géant, so the Tooth of the Giant. Actually, it's a little bit late. I'm going to kind of move through these a little quicker. This one was the really hard one, though. We actually climbed up this hole here, and I think that like little dot there is a person. So you climbed up this little snow field, which was really steep, and then up this side to about here. And then you went out on a ledge, went up this ramp-ish to these slabs. And actually, I think you can maybe even see some little dots. Those are people on there, and then up to the top. This is my first time doing climbing with mountaineering boots on. This was the first pitch, which like looks really intimidating. And it, to be honest, was kind of intimidating for me. But they have these like fixed ropes in any section that gets difficult. So you really, I mean, it's never really more than like five or so. And of course you're with your guide. And this section was very vertical, but it's a very blocky. All of these areas were very blocky and a lot of good footholds and handholds when you needed it. This slab here is actually this slab part over here. Sorry, no, this slab part up here. It's long, and actually you can see there's a rope there all the way up it to actually these people. Yeah. So like you can see there's people up here, and then there's a group up here traversing over to this group. All ropes the entire way. But it was definitely challenging though, because you're also at like maybe maybe 3,900 meters here. So it's a lot of cardio for sure. Yeah, beautiful knife edge near the top. You get to the top, they have like a statue there, which is crazy. If you like zoom in, you can actually see it's like melted a little on the top because lightning strikes it all the time. But anyway, and then this is the rappel down. So this is the peak up here. And then, yeah, you do all these rappels. You can see there's a party here. And I think there's a party here. Anyway, you do like 5 or 6 rappels down this thing, which is awesome. Okay. I'm gonna just kind of skip these real quick. This was just a traverse we did. We went all the way along. You can see this people here, but you just kind of go along this knife edge, which is beautiful. And then this was the one we got snowed on, which was really fun. So let me get to actually the Matterhorn. Okay, so Matterhorn. So this is the hut. This is what you can hike to. This was that picture in the beginning. First thing in the morning, we had a 3 a.m. or 3:50 a.m. start. You can see here, there's like, I mean, everybody starts at the same time. Like, there's not really any debate about it. I mean, you can obviously go on your own after, but like, this is like a very organized move. This point here is like here, which is like 5 minutes from the hut. And it starts, the very first is this, you can see this like almost this ladder. It's not a ladder, but they put little spikes in the rock and a rope, and starts up there. So yeah, that's the start of it. And then the first part of it, you actually wander on this face quite a bit. There's a lot of sections with ropes. There's a lot of sections that are kind of low angle and you just kind of traverse along. Nothing was really super. I mean, you can kind of see here, these are the pictures from it. Even though it looks very steep, I mean, there's a hut up there, which I'll talk about in a second, but it is definitely steep, but it's very blocky. Like I was mentioning before, you can almost like step up this. I mean, Mikey's like step ups and like lunges and squats. I mean, that's like all I did going up this thing. So yeah, I and then if it got steeper, you would definitely get to points where there's ropes, and I'll show that in a second. Yeah, and then this is just kind of looking back down. You can also get an idea here. There's not sections. I mean, there are steep sections, but there's also places, and you can see this is the trail here, and you come along here that you just kind of traverse across. So not too bad. Okay. Okay, so then after you wander on this face, you do get closer to the edge, and you make it to this the Salve hut, which is like a emergency hut still. So this is where you start to get a little bit steeper, and you can see you do have ropes like here. Again, it's not really super difficult climbing, just a lot of like step ups and grabbing onto the rope if you have to. And here's the hut right here. And then this is a picture of me at the hut with the sun just rising. So we made it there like at, I don't know, 6 a.m. or something. Pretty good time. But and you can see just the alpine view around it is just beautiful. So that makes it to about that point. And then after that, you definitely get steeper and into the first snow field where we did crampons. So we got crampons on about here. Yeah, you can see again, I think this is a pretty good, I mean, it's never really that steep for that long. And there's a lot of like zigzagging back and forth until you hit like sections like this. And then there's these fixed ropes and lines, so you can just kind of work your way up it. Also, I think just to know, where is the hut? Oh, I thought I put this picture in here because we could see the hut. No, maybe not. Maybe the hut's behind this point. I'm not sure. But you can see the trail goes here. You do get very close to these edges in this part of the route. So you can like really see down to this glacier valley below, which is kind of cool. So you're looking like down this face a lot, all the way down, which is just amazing. Really cool. And then yeah, then we hit the snow fields. So you're like on a knife edge in parts, steep on the left, steep on the right. And then this is the one I put, I think. Yeah, you can see this is the hut down there. So this is where we came up. And then this is the field that we came up was across here. This was the very first like steep snow and crampon use section. And that was this right here. Definitely great early in the morning. In the afternoon, or not, when we came down later in the morning, it got slushy and this got pretty hard to navigate. Okay. The next section here after that snowfield was really the steepest part. Before you hit the snowfield, you can kind of see here. Yeah, there's a person here, and you actually went up over this steep part up over this part, which is this part, to get to this snowfield. And it was hard. I'll say that is the hardest part for me, because you were pulling on ropes and it was like dead vertical. So you were like, and you had crampons on, so you were just like working your way up that. I think that was the crux. And this is a little bit better picture. I think you can see, oh, maybe it didn't come out that well, but I think there's people right here making it up this last little part. Anyway, yeah, I like that part. It was definitely short but fun. I'm glad it was short. And then yeah, you hit the upper snowfields, which were just long, probably 55-degree, that you just sort of cruised up, and you can see it was very good, like tracks already. And then near the top was a saint to like wish you well. And then at the very, very top, when you hit the top, was a cross. And of course, Mikey was generous enough to like let me borrow his flag. So I like was able to bring the OAT flag up to the top, which is cool. And I think, was that Okay, yeah, I was gonna say the last slide. Yeah, that was the last slide I had. Coming down, you went pretty much the same route, and they had a lot on these sections here. They had a lot of like uh, um, um, poles in the ground that you could like hook your rope around and like get lowered off of or belay down if you need to, or you could just down climb together. Um, but we got just mentioned we left at like 4 a.m., got to the top at 8 a.m. and got back down to the hut at 1 p.m. Yeah, which was like perfect timing, I think.
It's
Yeah. Okay, so
awesome.
that was my last slide.
Yeah, sweet. I have been wondering, I mean, first of all, congratulations. That's a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment. And I'm curious how that accomplishment has changed you as both a mountaineer and as a person. And like, what were your biggest takeaways and lessons that were a bit beyond the Matterhorn, more of a personal takeaway?
Yeah, those are tough questions. Um, yeah, I think, you know, I was really happy that I like did a plan like last September and like sort of methodically went through um sort of the like the prep climbs, the training discussion with Mikey, like changing up my training sort of with the rucking, and then um you know all the skills that I had to learn to get to that point. So like um I was pretty happy that it worked. you know, like I think one takeaway from me was that I I did plan it well, and I think I was pretty happy that it like worked out well that I was able to do that.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely like one thing we didn't talk about, but after this climb, yeah, after this climb, the second day, where it was really hard, I definitely lost a lot of confidence. I was like, oh man, I don't think I could do the Matterhorn. I mean, this one like totally really was difficult for me. Um, but I think the next day when we did this one, and I kind of did actually I did a lot of stretching that night. Um, kind of did some rolling even, with my water bottle when I could. And I felt much better on this one. And I talked to the guide too, and he said, no, no, I think you'll be okay. I wouldn't like have you do it if not. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how to put it, but I felt good that like I kind of got to that edge of like, oh, I don't know if I could do it, and then kind of like push through it a little bit, or like worked on what I could work on, like foam rolling and like stretching and like trying to feel better, and then like maybe backing off and doing a little bit of an easier day to like regroup a little. So yeah, just the whole process of it. Yeah, definitely I think made me understand a little bit better like what I'm capable of. So that was good
It's
for
awesome.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, I was happy with that. Um, yeah, but now I'm trying to think about planning the next trip. So, but I'll definitely take what I've learned on this one and apply it all to that. I mean, my goal, I think, is I'd, I'd like to like get to the point where I can be a little bit more independent. Not depending on the guide so much. Sorry, Mikey. But I want to get to the point where I like have the skills and the confidence. And I think I gained a lot of that on this trip. Um, but I think I still have more work to do on that. So probably the next year will be like continuing to build that confidence before getting some experiences like on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of answered my question, but I was curious, like, which mountain's next? Where are you going next?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think I want to try Rainier because I've been talking with Mikey about that one, and he mentioned that is glaciated, and I don't have really any skills in that like crevasse traveling on a glacier with crevasses and like any crevasse rescue or anything like that. So I think that probably would be next year for sure. Yeah. But I mean, this area is so beautiful. I don't know. I it's a little hard to see. Yeah, it's a little hard to see, but like there's peaks over here to the right of the Matterhorn that are like great traverse, like just peak, traverse, peak, traverse, peak, traverse. You could just like walk all around this. And there's huts over there and everything. So I don't know. That looks really cool too. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, anybody else have any other questions for Jason?
So I think you already really talked about it, like with the mental and everything, but I was wondering if there was anything extra that you wish you did train before you climbed it, because I know you were talking about your mental at the beginning and you just talked quite a bit about it. Is there any way that you think you could have prepared your mental a little bit more, like reading biographies of great climbers, or do you think it's just the experience being up there, doing it yourself? Because I remember at the beginning you said on your way down, you're like, what am I doing here? You know? So
Yeah, yeah. On the way down of this one, so on the way down of this middle one, when I was coming back down this field, I was struggling. This coal right here, and yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Could I have done anything to mentally prepare? I don't know. I think you just got to get out there and put yourself in the experience and like learn about it yourself. I mean, I definitely tried to with the prep climbs, but like Mikey was saying, those are definitely different climbs. Like Shasta felt more like long, steady, same thing over and over again. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, Mikey, but it was just like
Spot
you just
on.
got to like keep going, right? Where this was like, climb this steep, snow field and then like go over all these rocks and then go back and forth between snow and rock. And then all of a sudden you're like on rock all by itself and mountaineering boots. And yeah, I just had to like put myself in that position. Um, yeah, definitely gained. It's funny on this one, like this is the first, actually, this is the first pitch I ever did with mountaineering boots on and climbing. And I was not good. And that's part of why I was like, oh, I don't know if I could really do this. But then by the time I got here, because this pitch was like here, and then these pitches were this slab up here. By the time I got here, I actually felt better. And then by the time I was doing these, um, like this traverse, even though it's still a lot of like balancy movement with mountain boots on, and then this one had crampons on. So like, yeah, I just had to get out there and like build that confidence. And it was definitely a good series of like build up. Um, so it wasn't like throwing me in. I think if I just went in and did the Matterhorn right away, I would have been horrible. Because I would not have any of those skills and I wouldn't have the confidence, and I'd get on those walls and I'd be like totally freaked out. So yeah.
yeah, like coming out of it like on the other side, like you're more confident and you would do it again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like the tooth of the giant one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Even though you
Definitely.
okay, cool.
Hey, let's do it. Let's go next summer.
Okay.
Just you and me. No, we'll see. But yeah, no, I want to get to the point where I do feel like, because this really isn't that hard. I mean, there's ropes here, there's bolts, like you can clip in all over the place. I mean, you know exactly where the route is. It's not route finding. I mean, look at this over here. It's like, okay, go right there, go this crack and follow these people. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, after this experience, I'm much closer to being able to do this kind of stuff by myself, and that's kind of where I want to get to. But still a long way to go to get there. I'm definitely not feeling good enough to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just like, I'm curious to hear more about your rock climbing experience and like how much, because it sounds like you had quite a bit of that going into this. So just like curious to hear more about how you feel like you drew on that to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I would. So I give you a little bit of background on my experience. So in college, which was like 30 years ago, I climbed a lot, like every weekend, most days after class, a lot. And got fairly good, but like 30 years ago, fairly good was like, I don't know, it's a different kind of climbing. Like climbing gyms were just popping up around then. So then my son's on the call. Then I had kids and like got less climbed less. Although climbed with them a lot. But we would probably go, I don't know, what would we do? Maybe 5 times a year or something like that. Maybe 5 or 6 times. So I would say I definitely have a good foundation that was a long time ago, and definitely had some good skills that I had built up from a while ago. Um, but like this kind of stuff, like, I mean, again, it's not like a big deal, but when your guide is going up and clipping these in, like you should be very comfortable to like clean that quickly. And then when you get to the next belay station, like the transition, like handing him all these clips and like transitioning the rope so it goes from you know, closest to you to closest to him so he can lead again, and being comfortable at that belay station while he's gone, and then like being comfortable to like clean that belay station. So I would say like all of that extra work, like dealing with these slings, dealing with the belay stations, um, I'm very comfortable with, and that helped because then I didn't have to like spend any energy on that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't know what your experience level is, but if you can get to that level of comfort, then I think that would help a lot, because pretty much every one of these climbs had that, right? I mean, this climb had rappels and had simul climbing slash belaying. This had a ton of belay stations. You know, this one we didn't do a lot. There was some like here, this peak over here, and I think there's a peak in the middle that we did some climbing on. And then this one had a lot of climbing actually. So I think if you do go to this area, yeah, you would definitely need to be pretty comfortable with all that like transition work, and rope work. So yeah. So I got a lot of that in college and then did a lot of it on and off over the years with my kids, and then got into it a little bit more recently. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing all that, Jason. That was really awesome to, I mean, you shared it with me in a meeting, but to see it all with the photos is really incredible, and super inspiring. I'm like, I want to go to Zermatt and I want to climb the Matterhorn now. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it speaks to how much you invested and the time and energy to be prepared for something like this. And yeah, you know, for Chuck, if you're like, if you want to go that route with rock climbing, I mean, just a few pieces of advice, like find a mentor, someone that you trust that will take the time to teach you the skills, like I'm sure Jason had back in the day, and like I've had with mountaineering. And it's such a key component of getting into the outdoors, and the technical skills are a barrier. And it's really important to surround yourself with the right community and people that will teach you those skills willingly, and hopefully correctly. And then
Yeah, you're like in the Bay Area, you're like in the Oakland area, right? I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I see a lot of your posts about like Diablo and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I saw your Whitney post.
Oh
When you
yeah.
did Whitney, I was like, dude went up Whitney, all right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you ever
I
want
was
to
like, oh,
get
that's
together.
that Jason. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever want to get together and climb.
Cool.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I'm gonna hit you up, man.
There we
Awesome.
go.
Awesome.
Yeah, one other thing I'll add too, just about like, wanting to climb independently and like not hiring a guide, like it's becoming increasingly more accepted to like hire a guide. I mean, like the Chris Carr, the owner of Shasta Mountain Guides, like wherever he goes, he hires a guide because he sees the value. Like you get the local knowledge, like like your itinerary is going to be dialed, and you learn a lot from those people. And maybe Jason, what you're more speaking towards, like if you want to go climb Shasta on your own and like something that's like well within your wheelhouse, having the skills to do that is one thing. But like, if you're traveling internationally where the consequence is high, like I would hire a guide for sure. Even if like technical skill isn't an issue or physical fitness, whatever, like it's nice having someone that's on your side that's like there to help you through the process. And it's, yeah, I think there's pros and cons to both